up, but I always double check. Okay.
Oh no!
Yep.
Oh no!
It's
Let it make. What was it? Your phone?
yeah. I was just double checking. Yeah, we're good.
I forgot to tell you that there was a phone interruption charge. No, I'm just joking.
Of
So
$100.
right out of the gate, I get a laugh. All right, I think we'll just
Yeah,
I think we'll just call it a night. I think that's it. We won't go any further than that.
we've checked all the boxes.
Yeah, I'm done. I got a laugh, so I'm happy, and that's all we need. Thank you very much, Leanne, for being here, and appreciate it. So is it Leanne? Is that how we say your name?
That is
Leanne Linsky. I like to
yes.
do all this prep as we're recording, just so that I'll remember for later. My name's Bob, and Leanne is here with me tonight. We're going to talk just a little bit about other things, but I think I'm going to touch upon plausible. I believe I'm saying that correctly
You are.
with two Z's, plausible.com. But before we get to that, that's the tease. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's talk about you a little bit. So what we have in common is we're both from the Midwest.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes, I noticed that. That was the first thing I saw in your profile. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be fun."
So now you are from Chicago area,
Mhm.
and you say Waukegan, so I guess it's okay for me to say that.
Yeah, you can say
Uh,
that.
so now give me. I'm not from Chicago. I'm actually from downstate Illinois. But Waukegan, where does that fit into the Chicagoland suburban landscape?
Yeah, so it's north of Chicago between Chicago and Milwaukee, to give you an idea. It's next to
That's a
Great
pretty
Lake.
far. That's a pretty far run from Chicago to Milwaukee.
It's right next to Great Lakes Navy Base. Uh,
Okay.
yep, so if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
And, I went to Jack Benny Junior High, so if you know who Jack Benny is.
Oh yeah. They're like, oh,
Yes.
Leanne, like oh Rochester. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ray Bradbury is also from Waukegan, Illinois.
Oh really?
Mhm.
So I guess you be safe because Ray Bradbury programmed all the robots up there so they won't kill you. Isn't
That's
he the
right.
robot iRobot guy, right? So no, it was Isaac
Uh,
Asimov, wasn't it? Okay,
no, Fahrenheit,
451.
451, thank you. Yeah,
So you
yeah,
can't. Yeah, he knows the temperature that paper burns at. So we're.
yeah, and Dandelion Wine, I think, yeah. So all of those good science fiction novels that predicted the future of exactly where we are today.
Oh
Kind
yeah, exactly. They predicted it
right?
almost to a T.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
don't think so. We don't have any flying cars or
No, we don't.
yeah.
So you're in Southern Illinois?
So I'm actually from Central Illinois originally. I live in St. Louis right now.
Oh, I
Uh,
have family in the southern part of Illinois near St. Louis.
yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah. So yeah, St. Louis Metro is not quite as big as Chicagoland. We call it the St. Louis metro area, I suppose,
Yeah.
and you up there, you all call it Chicagoland, from what I recall.
Yeah.
Uh, I think you still do, but you're not there though now, are you?
No, no. I moved when I was 20 and I moved to Las Vegas actually.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that's a change of scenery.
Yeah, it was also a great place to go at the age of 20. So I transferred college and, ended up at UNLV, which was fantastic, and I stayed in Vegas for almost 16 years. Well, so yeah, 16 years.
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll get to that too. So let's go back to Waukegan for a little
Yeah,
bit. So
stay
you're a
there.
comedian, obviously, and you've founded this thing called Plausible, which I want to applaud you on because I was punching around on it, and it looks really, really nice and is very, very functional, which
Thank
I
you.
cannot say about a lot of websites. So um, that's fantastic. It's very simple. So, for all the simple minded people like myself, it makes it real easy for us to use it.
Mhm.
So what do you think shaped you to be a comedian and obviously an entrepreneur at this point from, being born and living in Waukegan for about 20 years?
Yeah, well, I had to have a sense of humor. So, well, actually, that right? No, that my family is really funny. My parents are very witty, very fast on their feet, and my both my mom and my dad are very funny people, and my brothers are 7 and 8 years older than me, and they're hilarious. And so here I come, and it's like, yeah, I kind of have to. Well, I have to fit in with my family. So
You have to
yeah,
keep up.
yeah, definitely, right? And my parents had me telling jokes at a very young age, and like, look at this party trick. I'm like, yeah, tell this joke. So
So
mhm.
give me the 7-year-old Leanne joke. You're 7 years old. Your parents say, tell Uncle, Billy a joke. What is it?
Those were really probably my dad's jokes. So I probably should have been telling them as an 8-year-old. Um, yeah, yeah. So, no, they were, and I did love riddles. I was a big fan of riddles.
hmm
So, I had a book of riddles, which I loved it. I read it so many times, like, I memorized them. So, like, a riddle that I loved to do was, what goes up a chimney down, but can't go down a chimney up?
Goes up a chimney down, but can't go down a chimney up.
Mhm.
Up a chimney down.
You want a
Well,
clue?
yeah, give me a clue. I'm not good at riddles, so go ahead.
Clue is I live in Seattle now, so it rains a lot. It's an umbrella.
Oh, an umbrella. Okay.
Mhm.
You know
Yeah.
what? I was thinking maybe, but then I thought, what would you stick an umbrella up a chimney for? But
I
that's
have no
I
idea.
would I'm like what's going on in your household where they're just cramming umbrellas up chimneys? I don't know.
Right? I don't know.
Is this some kind of rite of passage? Your brothers are like, oh, Leanne, you got to stick the umbrella up the chimney. Can't get it
These
back
are
down, I bet.
these are thoughts that kept me awake at night. Also, how many redheaded men are born in Kansas?
Are born in Kansas. How many redheaded men are
Mm,
born in Kansas?
yeah.
Hmm. I don't know, Leanne.
None, only babies.
Oh my gosh, that's one of those, if your uncle crashed the plane things or something. I don't know. If
Yeah.
you crashed on the border of two counties or something, where would you be buried or something like that? I can't remember what that joke was, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So riddles is kind of your thing then.
It was back then, but
Yeah.
they stuck with me. I remember a bunch of them from there. Like, what happens to little girls who eat bullets?
Lead poisoning.
Their hair grows out in bangs.
Oh my gosh.
I could go for days. I think you have the whole book memorized, so you
Oh
better
my
stop.
gosh.
Yeah,
This is hilarious. Okay.
yeah.
Bangs. I'm terrible at these things. Gosh, now I feel bad. I should get
No,
one of them, but so
a ton of
you're riddling it up there in Waukegan, and you mentioned you went to Jack Benny High School. I didn't realize Jack Benny was from Waukegan.
yeah, apparently. Yeah, it was a middle school, it was a junior high,
Oh,
and we were
junior
the
high. Okay.
39ers. Yeah, because Jack Benny was
I
never a
guess
day
because
older
of
than 30.
how old that's when he was popular. I
I think
wonder if
they
they still
renamed it.
are. Yeah, I was going to say I don't think that there'd be a lot of people who know who Jack Benny is too much, right?
No,
Did you know who Jack Benny was other than going there? Would you have ever encountered the Jack Benny?
Oh, yeah, because my parents knew all of the Jack Benny, yeah, uh, it was a thing, like, everybody talked about that. My parents actually, my mom comes from a family of 9 kids, and they were on a radio show way back, in the day when they were all kids, and they had a '78 record
Mm-hmm.
made of their time on the radio. The station gave their family a recording of it that was
Oh,
pressed
really?
onto vinyl. Mhm. Yeah.
Was it what? Do you remember what station it was up in there?
Uh,
WGN or WLS or
I don't know if it was
WMAQ?
I don't remember what station. That's a great question. I don't know if it was WLS. I think it was a very local station at the time. I'm gonna
Oh,
have to ask
okay.
my mom now what station, because we used to. I remember as a kid, I'd always pull that out and listen to it on the record player.
It'd be WAUK for Waukegan.
Yeah, maybe.
That's fascinating. So I guess then you got it naturally how people, because your family was kind of, into those kind of things. So they were outgoing people and
Yeah.
fun people. Did they do anything like that once you were born, or was that just kind of, the past, and they, okay, we got to be a family people now, even though we're jokey and everything, we can't perform
Well,
or anything.
my mom's family was on the radio because my grandmother won something and they got invited in, and then like
Hmm.
they got, I don't know, they got some prizes like free groceries or something.
Oh my gosh.
So it was only like a one-time thing, and it
Oh,
was a
okay.
big deal because 9 kids and the parents showing up at a radio station
Right.
was like, they're like, "What is happening here?"
So
Um,
your grandparents had 9 children?
yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. I guess you'd
right?
have to be funny and all that because nobody pay attention to you otherwise.
Oh, yeah, and
Otherwise, they were just complaining.
they yeah, my mom's family has a hilarious sense of humor. They're always playing practical jokes on each other, and yeah, my
Oh my
aunts and
gosh.
uncles. Mhm.
So then so whenever now you said you moved when you were 20. So did you go to school after high school for a while in Waukegan area and then
Yeah,
move out to Las Vegas?
I did. I went to community college for my first 2 years and got my associate's degree, so I went to College of Lake County, CLC.
I I went to community college as well. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. I got my that's the smart money goes to community college, folks.
It is. It
Yeah.
really is, and it's a really because first, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up at that
Hmm.
age. I had no idea, and, all of those classes in those first 2 years, why would we pay those big that's the same
Yeah.
classes. Yeah.
You can pay, the crazy Uncle Earl to teach you for about $20 and still get the credits, as
Yeah,
opposed to paying top dollar for, some
yeah,
Rhodes Scholar or something.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was always a fan of the show Community because, I mean, it was funny, obviously, right? But because people were going to community college. I'm like, I remember. I mean, that was kind of not that we did those kooky things where we do paintball and everything, but that was community college, which was a huge swath of people. Did you have
yeah.
that same kind of experience?
You mean a wide variety of people
Well,
or
yeah, you'd have older people, younger
Yeah.
people. It wasn't a typical college
No.
experience.
I really liked it. I also worked during that time, so I was able to hold a job, and then I stacked all my classes on certain days of the week, so
Hmm.
I could continue working, through school, and I did like it because there were older people with more experience who were able to put things in better context, and, um, yeah, I met all kinds of interesting people doing that.
So,
It was really cool.
what was your job then? You want to mention that
Yeah,
at all?
I worked for Ma Bell. I worked for Illinois Bell Telephone Company.
Oh, well, what did you do for them?
So, I started in high school. It was funny 'cause I I got the job and I worked in I think the first summer there, I've worked just a summer and I worked for like as an admin assistant to the
Hmm.
manager in this big office where they took all of the 611 repair calls. And then they had in the back they had the dispatchers for various like special services and Julie, call Julie before you dig, where they go
Right.
and locate all the cables, so cable
Hmm.
locator. So there's this, like, big office of, I don't know, 50 some people, 60 people in it with a low cube so you could stand up and see everybody, and
Like
I did
the gophers down
Yeah,
the cube farm. Yeah.
yeah, I did that, and this is way back in the '80s, so, you know, uh, we used carbon paper for things and did all of
you,
that.
you had the old mimeograph machine going
Right? Yeah.
there.
I did that, and then I think a couple of the summers I did 611 repair where I'd answer the phone and people would be like, "Hey, I have static on my line, I need help," and it'd be like, "What? Your line's clear." So,
You're like, oh
and then
no,
we
you
go
don't. Call back later.
right? Or, "What? I can't hear you."
Did
Um,
you ever tell anybody to dig where they weren't supposed to dig just to cause trouble? You're like, oh yeah, you
oh,
could dig
no.
there.
No, that would just create an outage and tons of calls. So, no, I had so much fun because I did sit back by the dispatchers for the Julie calls,
Hmm.
and they were hilarious. They were always playing pranks on people, and I just sat there and laughed all day.
Oh
I
my
think back
gosh.
to that time, it was just like, did anybody work? I think we got things done, but we had so much fun, and it was these 2 older gentlemen, Clary and Ed, and they sat there and, if the manager came by, they had headsets on like this connected to their
Mhm.
phones, and they'd pretend they were on call so the manager would keep walking and not talk to them, stuff
So
like
they
that.
were faking everybody out. They're like, oh yeah, we're busy here. Can't talk.
Yeah, and then they
This
had this
this
little
guy's digging up his yard everywhere. We're trying to stop him.
yeah. They had this little sponge, like, little doll or something on the thing, and he's dipped it in ink, and then, like, one of the other managers would come by, and he goes, "This guy, he always picks up everything on my desk and touches it." So he dipped it in ink so that the guy, when he had it, his hands were full of ink afterward. Be
Oh
like,
my
"That'll
god.
teach him."
Oh my god. Yeah. What are you handling all my desk utensils here?
Yeah.
My
Mhm.
stapler, right? So you do a whole office space takeoff there. My stapler. Yeah, my stapler. Yeah. That sounds fun. So then you're working for Ma Bell. You're going to school, and then you graduate and you get an associate's in.
I got associates in business administration.
Really? So
Mhm.
this is fascinating because you're doing other things, but so business administration. You're like, I'm going to get a business administration degree, and then I'm going to go on to.
UNLV and get my business management degree.
This is not the if you were to tell me to write a movie about somebody who is involved in comedy, those two things would not be in the script anywhere. Yeah, I'm going to go
No.
ahead and get my business administration degree, and then I'm going to go on and
Yeah.
get my business management degree, and then sky's the limit for comedy.
Right. And there was all this other stuff that had to happen before I even started doing comedy.
Oh, okay. So you
Yeah.
you you had your Statler and Waldorf of Ma Bell up there in Waukegan,
Yeah.
uh, taking care of you, and you head over to UNLV. Now, why did you pick? I mean, were you just trying to get away at this point? You didn't want all those
No,
9 aunts and uncles that you had to be bothering you.
no, honestly, I ended up going to UNLV because, so I was first generation to go to college in my dad's family,
Hmm.
and, um, I never anticipated going to college, to be honest with you. I was always a good student, but I didn't know people who went to college, and I didn't have family members who went to college, so therefore, why would I go to college? Like, I don't whatever.
Well, yeah, yeah. Why?
I
What?
Yeah.
We
So
all were doing gigs on the radio to get free groceries. Why work?
right? I mean, come on. So do call-ins. So yeah, so I ended up in high school, I got a bit of a scholarship, and that was a really pleasant surprise. I mean, I used to sit in the basement on a typewriter and type all my applications, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get any of these things. But I'd spend hours and hours, and I actually got a scholarship, which helped, and to go to community college, and then I did all right in community college. My parents were like, okay, you're doing well. Do you want to continue? And I was like, sure, but I don't even know where to go. And I looked at schools in Illinois and everything, but we couldn't afford it. They were very expensive.
Mhm.
So my brother was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base out in Vegas, and he said, "I
Oh,
think
okay.
there's a school out here. Do you want me to go by and pick up a catalog?" Again, this is before the internet.
Right.
So
That's right.
so
Catalog.
so he had to go to the drive over to the school, and he picked up a catalog
Let me
for me.
mail you a catalog from the UNLV. See if you like
He
it or not.
did, he
Mm-hmm.
did, and he mailed it to me, and we looked, and we're like, "Whoa, we could make this work." And I got accepted, and, yeah, and my mom even went back and got a job to help pay for it, and, you know, yeah. So
What?
I was very lucky
So
to do that.
did you stay with your brother then, or how did that work out?
No, I ended up living in the dorm,
Oh,
and
okay. So
yeah,
he was like, I'll get you the catalog, but that's it. I'm not going to do
yeah, no.
anything else to help you.
No, he lived by the base, which was far away from
Oh,
it's quite
okay.
a distance from the school, so that would've been really challenging. So, I lived in Tonopah Hall, which was, like, the original dorm on campus right across from Beam Hall, um, And yeah, so I don't know. People might know that because there was recently an incident at the university, but it all took place right there. So
Oddly enough, it had to do with office stationery and ink.
yeah, yeah, somebody left ink and everything on their desk. Um, no, it was a really good experience. UNLV is great, and they have a large population of first generation students there.
Really, I wouldn't have even thought that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I guess. I mean, maybe at some point they weren't as well known, and they're like, yeah, just bring us anybody, especially anybody from the Midwest.
Yeah,
They,
right.
they've never been to a desert. They can come out here and go to school. But
Yeah.
that's
Yep, it's
fascinating.
good.
So
Mhm.
you obviously you graduated with your degree from UNLV, or did you not?
I did. I
Oh,
graduated
good.
UNLV. Yep. I got my degree in business management. And during that time, because I had gone even in the years in between my 2 years at UNLV, I went home and worked at Illinois Bell during the summer. And so the Illinois Bell said, "Hey, you can come back and continue working here. And those 5 years you've worked here are, seniority already." And I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh, but I'm in Vegas." I'll work for Central Telephone in Vegas. At the time, it was Central Telephone. So I
Mhm.
started the hiring process at Central Telephone, and they went on a hiring freeze because they were being acquired by Sprint. And Sprint so in one of the interviews, they're like, "Hey, we've got these new things called mobile phones, and we're thinking of selling them in kiosk out in, like, strip mall parking lots." And I was like,
Right.
"What? Man, okay." But then they had this hiring freeze, so I didn't get hired. No one got hired,
Oh.
and I got a accounts payable job for a home builder.
Oh, well, I thought we were going to spin off into the whole cell phone industry for a second there with all that. You're like, come see Leanne for all your burner needs.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be like a Better Call Saul burner telephone sales lady.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly who I would have been. No.
Wow, no, that's interesting. But so you were there, almost there for the kind of the advent of cell
Yeah.
phone proliferation, if I can even get that out of my mouth.
Yep.
That's interesting. Um, so then you've got your degree, and then you went into comedy, right?
No, I worked for this I
What?
worked for I worked for a home builder, uh, for like a year, and then several of my friends in the accounting department were moving over to another home builder, which was a national Fortune 500 company, uh, and they're like, "Hey, they're coming into the Las Vegas market. We're
They're like,
moving
hey,
over
they
there."
got cell phones over here. You might want
Yeah,
to.
and they said, "Come on over, Leanne." So I started working for, Pulte Home Corporation, and I started there, and I stayed there for almost 13 years.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's like a career right there. 13 years.
I
Most people can't even make it 2 or 3.
I know, I thought I was gonna retire from there, but
Oh my
no.
gosh.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you? What
Because they
happened?
they laid me off. We know what happened
Oh
to the
my,
housing
those bastards. Those
so so but
this
here's what
she gives you 13 good years of assisting or whatever you were doing and not going to sell cell phones, and even though she could have pocketed a hefty commission, and then you get laid off.
Yeah.
It's like the
I
that's
and
the American story right there. And everybody
right.
says the American story. Get a house and a family. No. You get a job, have it for a long time, and then they lay you off. That's the American
Yeah,
story.
and then you're like, "Now what?" But during
Yeah.
that time is when I started comedy,
Oh,
during my
okay.
time
So
at that
maybe
job.
that's why you
Yeah.
got laid off. They're like number one on the list. That
Well, it's
jokester.
funny. They, I was doing a lot of public speaking and stuff during my time there, and so that's when I went
Oh,
back.
why would you
Yeah.
have to do public speaking? What was the catalyst for that?
Well, no matter what my job title was, I was in charge of planning all the quarterly meetings and a lot of the events, and so I would be in front of groups of hundreds of
Oh,
people speaking, and I was like, "Oh, I wanna maybe put together a monologue for one of my events," and
mm-hmm,
so I took a comedy writing class at UNLV. That was a continuing ed class,
mm-hmm.
and then after that, one of my coworkers was like, "Hey, the Second City has a training center out here now," and I was like, "They do?" And he was
Really?
like, "Yeah,
I
yeah,
had
they
no
did."
idea.
They actually had another, show that they were doing at one of the theaters in the Flamingo. And
Hmm.
so they opened their training center out there. And so I signed up for
Oh,
my first improv class and I took all of them that they offered. And I think up to 3 times some of them. And that,
oh my!
yeah,
They're like, we we got her hooked. Keep doing
yeah.
these
So I
classes. We got Leanne. Leanne, are
bring
you
in
up
the
for this one
money.
again? It's
Yeah.
only another $50. You're good with that, aren't you?
$50. I wish they're like
Oh, I have
300.
no idea.
Yeah, I put so much money into
Three
improv
hundred
class
dollars seriously for a class?
for like a series, like so it'd
Oh,
be
okay.
like a number of weeks or something. Yeah.
Was there any one of your teachers was anyone that we might recognize at this point?
Yeah, the one of my comedy writing teachers wrote for SNL for a while. Kay Cannon produced all the and wrote the Pitch Perfect movies
Oh
and
my
the
gosh.
latest Cinderella movie. She wrote for 30 Rock, New Girl, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. Oh, I love
Yeah.
30 Rock. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. So
You
there
can't go
are a lot
wrong
of good
there.
people, very funny people. Yeah.
That's interesting. How wild. And so back then she was like, "Yeah, I'm working for $300 because Leanne's the only one that shows up for the class. But
She
hey,
was
it's a living."
she was actually really encouraging. I thought she was a fantastic instructor. I learned so much from her, and she, when I was like, I really love doing improv. She's like, if you have the opportunity to really learn, if you this is something you want to do, go do an intensive, like several weeks, either in New York at Upright Citizens Brigade, known as
Mm-hmm.
UCB, or Chicago, IO Chicago, which formerly was called Improv Olympic, but they had to change the name. So it's IO Chicago.
Oh.
And so eventually I ended up doing both. Yeah.
Oh, why do they have to change the name? You got me curious now.
I think Olympics is
Oh, the
taken.
Olympic Committee.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, these people! I swear. That's
Yeah.
our. That's our. What do they call it? That's our. I'm blanking on the term now. What do they call it? Intellectual property
Yes.
Olympics
Trademark. Hmm.
trademark. Yeah. How terrible. So you're doing the classes at UNLV and having a good time. And when did you make the journey to New York? Or did you do that while you were still working before the bastards laid you off?
So I was working. So I only took the one class at UNV, and then I did all the classes at Second City. And
Uh-huh.
then while I was working at that company, I had lots of vacation time, which was cool. So I took a couple weeks and I went and did an
Ah.
intensive in New York. And I was like, oh, New York. I love New York. Such a
Mm-hmm.
fan. And I came back and I'm like, if I didn't have all these other great things in my life, like a job and a house and those things, I would move to New York. And
Mm-hmm.
then fast forward to where I get laid off. My friend, oh, and also during that time why I worked for that company, I would drive to LA and take
Mm-hmm.
improv classes on the weekends and drive
Oh my
back.
god, that's like
Yeah.
5 hours though, isn't it, from Las Vegas?
Yes.
Oh
Yeah. It's
gosh,
like
yeah.
4 or 5 hours. Yep. Each way.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and so I would do that. And then so I was like all in, right? And I had this great job and I loved it. And then I got laid off. And so then as it neared my end date, I had a
Uh-huh.
friend that I had met in New York who called me one afternoon. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to move to New York this summer and I'm getting a sublet." And I was like, "Oh, that's great." And he's like, "I'd like a roommate. Would you like to move to New York and share it?" And I was like, "I'll think about it." And he's like, "You have 1 hour." I was like, "What?" And he's like, "You have 1 hour 'cause like, I can't in New York, finding a place to live is
Right,
like a good sport
exactly.
in
I
itself,
gotta
so
I gotta lock somebody in or else it's gone, right? So
yeah, yeah. So, I took a walk, I came back, I called, and I said, "I'm in." And a month later, I packed 2 suitcases and moved to New York City.
that's wild. So I guess at this point you didn't have like a lot of you weren't like married or attached to somebody to where you're living together and all that kind of stuff to where you're like I can't go to New York because I'll leave, Timmy or whatever.
Well, between me graduating college and, me getting laid off, in that time, I'd been married and divorced twice, so there
Oh
was
my
nobody.
goodness.
It was something I did during the
Well,
'90s, so
you skimmed that one. You know, do the yada yada. Graduated yada yada. Had two
Yeah.
divorces and went to New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for my third in New York at the sublet.
No, no, no. No, I was totally all in on comedy and performing and learning as much as I possibly could. Yeah.
So at this early stage, what would you say? What was the attraction for you that said this is really something that I want to do that early on when you were doing your classes and so forth? What was the tipping point? You're like, this is all fun. I like doing it. I love giving $300 all the time to Second City. Um, but what was it that you said? This is something I must do.
I couldn't imagine me not doing it, whether I had the job or not. And I also found it challenging, but fun at the same time. It's not easy, honestly. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Doing improv, like there is so much to learn. Writing comedy is a skill set. It's I'm just fascinated by the process, and it's so much fun because every time I'd practice or go to class, we spend so much of that time laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can I not want to do something that brings so much joy? It's like being 5 again and letting your imagination run and going outside to play.
You're like, wait, this was a 3-hour class, and we only actually did 35 minutes of work. Hold on a second. We're just laughing the whole time.
No, we work the whole time, but people are, it's just fun. It's like, how
Yeah.
often do you get to go somewhere and pretend to be somebody else and, say silly things and yeah, just have permission to play.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, at your home, I guess that's what you mentioned before. But in Waukegan,
Yeah. Yeah. So,
but
I don't
it's
know.
not quite the same. So I guess you like the challenge of doing it.
Yeah.
As far as like going through the motions and the kind of the process of it. I was wondering if it was like when you got on stage you liked it when you did this, but it sounds just like it's like a whole process thing. It'd be like
Yeah.
some people like to cook and then they cook things and they don't eat them,
Right.
because they don't want to. It's not that they need to eat anything; they just like the process of cooking.
Yeah. Well, it's like that with acting, right? As actors, I learned that we spent most of our time practicing,
Mm-hmm.
memorizing lines, rehearsing, going to classes, and then the icing on the cake is that you get to put it all together and perform. But
Mm-hmm.
that's, a small percent of your time as an actor. Everything else is auditioning and preparing and doing all the other things that are part of that journey. And you really have to love it if you're going to do it because that's what you spend most of your time doing.
if,
Yeah.
if you don't love it, it's going to be pretty boring. Um,
Yeah, you're gonna be frustrated, but like
yeah.
waiting for that fame to come if you're not willing to put in all the other work and enjoy that too.
So at this, were you acting at this time too when you were in Las Vegas? Were you trying to get acting gigs as well as doing the
Yeah,
comedy thing?
I was. Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. But I was trying. Yeah, I was trying different things. I went out to New York, I think again, um, and got like a extra role in this independent film. It was so fun. It was just such a fun experience. I don't even think you could see my face in it, but being on set and being around other actors who are taking it all very seriously
Hmm.
was such a cool experience. Like it is just like how like what is my life right now? This is so fun. Um, yeah.
So how did you? So you got laid off. So how did you support yourself in the meantime? I mean, were you getting enough paid gigs to do that, or was there? I mean, tell me the terrible struggles.
No, like there's not like so at that state definitely not. I don't think there was an ever a time where my comedy necessarily supported me. It kind of supplemented other means. So I always
Hmm.
would have a day job or when I got to New York, after a while I went out and got a job. I wanted to do the quintessential like wait tables. What was that like? That was horrible,
I can
but I think
imagine.
everybody should wait tables once in their life.
Well,
I think it
yeah.
is very
Service jobs
humbling.
make you humble. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, if you have to do a service job for any length of time, then you aren't quite such a terrible customer.
Yeah. It's true. It's really true. It
Yeah.
gives you a whole lot of different appreciation for people who work in the service industry, honestly. But I did it for a while. I don't know. I wanted to try all the different things and have a full on experience. And um so I did. And eventually I got like an office job again and things like that. And yeah, and it would
Selling
change.
cell phones, perhaps.
No, 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 no. I worked let's see. I was an office manager at a theater for a year, and I ended up going back to that theater and doing their bookkeeping a couple years later. I
Like a Broadway type off Broadway theater
at an
work.
improv theater.
Oh, an
Yeah.
improv theater. Okay.
Mhm.
Well,
I
then
worked
then
for
you're
Meg.
close. Then you're close to
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I worked at a really good improv theater, Magnet Theater, and then so I did that. I worked there at 2 different times, and then I also worked, let me think. We're digging back in here, my memory vault. I did things, I worked for a temp agency,
Oh,
which
that's
was
got to be the
actually
worst, don't you think?
no.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
it was so cool because it's kinda like try before you buy, and I actually because of my background and my experience, and everything, I actually worked for a publishing company for a while through that temp agency
Mhm.
and, did market research, which was really cool because I had done market research before for the home builder, and,
Okay.
um, so that was really cool. I worked with some really nice people there, and that was a long, long time that I worked, like, I don't know, over a year? I don't know. It was a long time and for me, and then I also worked for an investment bank for a couple years.
Hmm.
I worked as a director of marketing for a voiceover studio for 5
Oh my
years. I
gosh,
actually
really?
yeah,
Did
I
did
did
you
it.
get did you use your influence to get gigs then? You're like, "Oh, wait, we don't need to hire anybody else. I could be a lumberjack. Come on."
No, because the voiceover studio, like, that's a whole thing in itself. I did all the I was a director of marketing, so I stayed out of the voiceover part of it. I mean,
Oh,
I could have
wow.
taken classes and stuff if I wanted, but I was like, "That's all," like, I'm so invested into comedy and the other parts, I
Mhm.
to go off and do this other thing, I'm like, "No, I'm good." Yeah.
So you didn't wanna do the voice? I can't believe it. Can't never
No.
do the voiceover? Goodness gracious. I thought to me, they kinda go hand in hand a little bit, I would think, because it is still performance, but I suppose they probably want you to say what's in the script,
Well,
a lot
sometimes
of
they
the
want you to
time.
improvise, but voiceover is a skill.
Mhm.
Like, doing audible like, audiobooks and things, I don't know, I listen to a lot of audiobooks now,
Mhm.
and if the narration is not a professional voiceover person, there's a you like, I can tell. I'm like, "Oh, please stop." The person especially authors who read their own books, I'm like, "You're killing me." Don't
Chapter
do that.
5. The
Yeah,
beach ball of death.
it's
I was
like, "Oh,
standing
please."
on the beach in Santa Monica.
Yeah. But
Okay.
good voiceover artists will do like, it just makes it so easy to listen to
Would
and
you
so
say
fun.
that one of those things is the fact that they kind of have kind of a rhythm and a cadence that they use to do all that? Or
Yeah,
what do you think that is? What do you think the kind of key to it is?
well, they've practiced, so they know how to take the words off the page so it doesn't sound like someone's just reading it. Like, I hear people read it, and then it's, like, not even like, they're not even emphasizing the right words in a sentence, and then they're like, "Oh, that was the end of the sentence," and then you just go on to the next sentence. But a voiceover artist will kind of I don't know, they're just a difference, like, makes it easy listening. Yeah.
And people slam doors, and I don't know if you heard the slam of the door over here.
Mm.
That's okay. It's food time for the cats, so the cats
Oh,
got to get
okay.
fed around here.
I don't
The
know why I turned and looked at my door 'cause there's not even a door behind me.
So, well, that's interesting though. So then, but you're still doing comedy and so forth. What would you say you did as far as in the comedy vein while you were in New York? What was your kind of focus? What did you do more of?
So it started out, I was super focused on improv and sketch comedy, and I started an open mic for sketch comedy, which eventually morphed into stand-up open mic, and I ran that open mic for 7.5 years. And I
Oh my
started and during that time, I wrote my one-woman show. I started, auditioning for plays and things like that, so I did a few, plays in theater, and I worked with a few I freelanced with a few agents. I got some commercials, and I did that one woman show and I premiered it in New York, took it to DC and Delaware, back to New York. So that was like a period of over a year. But I always ran this open mic, um, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And so after I finished my one woman show, I started actually pursuing stand up outside of anything I did in my mic. And it's funny because I had been doing my mic for years with all these stand-ups, and I was like, "Nah," and then I'm like, "I'm gonna start doing stand-up." And so then I started, getting more involved in that and getting booked in shows, and then I started producing in addition to my open mic, I started producing weekly shows, comedy stand-up comedy shows. So, like, my
Mhm.
last year in New York, I produced 42 shows. Yeah,
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's quite a lot.
yeah.
So, were you when you did the one woman show and so forth? I mean, I hate to ask the financial question, but did it cost you, or did you break even, or what was the,
Oh,
or was
no,
it a
it totally
success and
cost.
it made you a millionaire, and so then you started Plausible?
No, it totally, all of this stuff cost me probably more than I ever made. Um, yeah, that cost because you have to pay all your applications to festivals, you have to
Hmm.
pay for a tech person to run the booth for sound and lights at the
Hmm.
theater, have to pay a director, have to pay, a stage
Well,
manager.
it's your show. What do you direct yourself? You don't have to have a director.
No,
I mean,
no. Oh my gosh, that's worse. Like, no, I do not. I don't think anybody should direct them. I don't know. Maybe people do it and they're good, but
hey, Clint Eastwood does it in the movies.
yeah, he's Clint Eastwood. But I prefer to have a director on the outside to have another perspective, and bring ideas to the table that maybe I hadn't considered before. And she was great. I'm so glad I did that.
So, who did you marry in New York and divorce during that time?
Nobody. I
Okay,
got
I'm just
away.
checking.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I got away.
I'm just teasing you. That was a
No,
mean
that's okay. It's a
question.
valid question. It wasn't until I got to California that that happened.
Oh,
But
okay.
I'm still married and he is the keeper. He is the
Oh,
winner.
good. So it all worked out. Thank goodness.
Yeah,
So, well, take us there. Take us to California.
sure. So eventually in 2014, end of 2014, very end, right at 2015, I moved to California. And there I started continuing to produce my show,
Mhm.
and did that in Long Beach, California. I ended up in Long Beach, which is too far from LA, and someone told me that it wasn't, and boy, was I wrong. So that's why I was, like, spending all this time on the freeway. I'm like, "This is crazy. What am I doing?
Oh, you
How do
gotta love
I"
the freeway out there, don't you?
Ugh, it was terrible. It's like, "I'm going to the grocery store, I'll be back in 3 days," you know? So
I got
so
yeah, I got my Camelback thing for some water and
right?
my yeah,
Yeah, pack up
got
a
some
snack.
snacks. Yeah, I got my little camping stove. I'll be able to make some hot dogs.
So true. Yeah. So that's why I started doing things online is because, it was really hard geographically to get around and do all the things that I was accustomed to doing in New York.
Hmm.
So so I was like, "How do I bridge this gap? How do I make this work?" And I don't believe we can replace in-person experiences. I think there's a magic to them, and it's necessary as humans that we have them. But I do believe we can make the online experience for online live entertainment better. So I started experimenting with it with like all the existing technologies
Hmm.
and seeing what it was like to run a mic on Zoom and do things like that. And so this was before COVID,
Hmm.
and
Like
August of
2015 or so, or
well,
what do you
in
say?
2015, I was like, "I'm gonna use Skype," and people were like, "Skype?" And we kinda chuckled about that idea, and I was like, "Yeah, maybe not." And I was using Zoom because I was still working for that voiceover studio in New York, working
Hmm.
remotely from LA
Oh
or
wow,
California,
cool.
and I was using Zoom a lot, and I'm like, "Ah, this would probably work." And then life happened. I started a podcast and did those things. And then eventually that idea was still rolling around back there. So in August 2019, I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to put it out there. And people were like, hey, this is really cool. I can meet people I wouldn't otherwise meet because we're on the internet. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID happened. So everybody was doing
Yeah.
that. So yeah.
Stupid COVID.
But right. But during that time, I was like, this is great. But but the existing technologies weren't designed for entertainment. So I'm like, how do I fix those problems? How do I make it better for us? So that's when I went back to school again. And I went to
Good.
University of California, Irvine, and got my
Okay.
master's in innovation and entrepreneurship.
Oh my. Well, this is interesting because you've had this whole business trajectory on your what I would call formal education. Not that Second City is not formal, but
Mhm.
and then this underlying current for your continued education in comedy stuff. That's interesting. So
Yeah.
they've always been kind of going together. It sounds like, at least in your adult life,
Yeah.
and so they're coming together in plausible. I'm guessing. I'm projecting my thoughts here, saying in the future, plausible happens, right?
That's exactly what happened. So I was doing this online open mic, and this was my idea when I went into the program at school.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how do I scale this so I can help a lot of people? And how do I make this comedy venue accessible to people no matter where they are in the world, or maybe persons with disabilities or people with autoimmune issues where they can't go
Mm-hmm.
out for whatever reason, right?
Yeah. Or
Um,
they just don't want
so,
to. I just want to stay
yeah,
home. Yeah. I don't want to
I
go out.
mean,
Well, who wants to do that?
I don't, not anymore. So
Exactly.
I don't. I do everything here, and it's so fun. And so, yeah, I did that, and afterward, I got accepted into an incubator program, which is for startups.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking like an incubator for chickens, right? It's
Yeah,
before,
but they're like, you stay at home because you don't. We don't want you in the incubator. We want to incubate you at home.
right? Exactly. Put you under a warm light until your idea is fully hatched.
Hatched, right?
Yeah, and then from there, I got into a startup accelerator, which was super helpful. It came with funding, and I was able to go out then and hire people to build my big dream,
Oh,
and that's what I
cool.
did. Yeah,
Well, I mean, you hired well because I was poking around, and it's a really dynamite website as far as usability. I mean, I haven't been on there a lot, but just since we set this up, I poked around, and I'm like, wow, this is nice and easy. I will tell you my favorite feature
okay.
uh, is block user. I'm like, what the heck? Oh no, block fans. That's what it is.
Did
Block
you sign up
fans.
as did you sign up as a comedian?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I signed up as a comedian. I'm
Cool.
like, blocked fans. I'm like, wow. I mean, you're thinking. That's forward. It's positive forward thinking right there. To think number one, you're going to have fans, and then number two, you're going to have some that are going to be so annoying that you got to block them.
Yeah,
I would hope for annoying fans. I would
right.
dream to have. Have you ever seen Flight of the Conchords? And
Yeah.
Kristen Shaw is the annoying fan.
Oh my
You
gosh,
know,
she's so funny.
yes. I'm like, boy, if only if
I
that would be a dream fan that I could block her, and then and then she'd beg me to unblock her. I could see the whole scenario.
She used to run a
Okay.
show called Hot Tub. I forgot what it was, something Hot Tub, in New York that I would go see at the Pit, the People's Improv Theater.
Oh,
She's
really?
hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
She's very funny.
yeah.
So plausible gives shut-ins. No, I'm just joking. It gives shut-ins
Yeah.
an opportunity to do stand-up comedy when they can sit down. Is that
Yes,
is that what it is?
they can, yeah.
that should probably not be your tagline. We're for
No.
the shut-ins who are funny. But yeah, that's interesting. So if you were to say who should, I mean, now I've kind of thrown a wrench in it because I joined. So now you're like, well, if he can
Oh,
join, we can
there
take
it goes.
anybody, I guess. But who would you say? Who would you encourage? You'd say if this is your thoughts, you should join this. You know, what's your thoughts on that? Who should be the people? Who are the people you're trying to reach out and get them to join?
I'd say any comedian, all levels, wherever you are in your comedy journey, I think Plausible has something for you because we provide all of the scheduling tools, the virtual stage, ticketing services that you can use at your disposal. So if you want to host and produce your own, you can do all of that. If you want to go and check out what other people are doing and attend other open mics or get booked in other shows, you can do that as well. So there's opportunities for you to do things and hone your skills in between your in-person gigs. And then if you're a comedy fan, we have even more fans on there than we do comedians. And we have, I think, nearly, I don't know, several hundred comedians. So we have way more fans on there who are looking for shows, and they can sort through the comedy directory by types of comedy topics that they're interested in or not interested in. And then they can also look through the show listings to see what speaks to them and what they want to attend. And all the shows are live in real time. So
Mm-hmm.
the comedians perform online for an online audience that they can see and hear.
Mm-hmm.
And when a fan joins, they can see and hear everybody else. And there's no one-way audio. So it's kind of like if you were in the real room and you can hear many people laughing at the same
Oh,
time
okay.
without
Gotcha.
cutting off your punchline. Mhm.
Oh, I was going to say if you had another level that you could add, and maybe you could charge them a premium, would be a heckler. You'd say, "Oh, I want to join as a heckler," and then you just really gig them with a charge. You're like, "If you want to be a heckler, you're
Yeah.
going to have to. That's an upsell, right?"
Right? Yes, definitely.
then,
Yeah.
then they could be a little bit louder than the regular audience, and then basically you can charge them extra money.
I like that, and I can put them, like, up front center so
Yeah,
everybody can
yeah,
see them
there you go.
all the time.
Or they can pick their seat, and then I'm gonna heckle from the back, you suck. That's not a heckle. You got to charge for that. But no, I think it's a fascinating concept, and I mean I haven't delved too far into it, but the execution so far that I've looked at is fantastic.
Thank you.
It very, but I love things that are what do we call them. It looks very Norwegian, Finnish, Swedish because it's very simple and it's very easy to navigate. I mean, it looks beautiful. Don't think simple is not elegant. Um, but yeah, it's very easy to navigate and it looks really nice. So I think people would enjoy it, and just for the aesthetic. I mean, maybe that's not a thing for people, but when you're a shut-in, you gotta go for the aesthetic of websites if you're not gonna look at architecture.
Yeah,
So.
it's true, right? Like, we gotta have something to change up our environment and make it
Right.
pleasing. Yeah.
And I saw on there that it looks like you do workshops as well. So you can join workshops also to kind of hone your skills and whatnot.
Yeah, there are several comedians expressing interest in hosting classes and workshops. There's an open mic on Saturdays hosted by Barry Weisenberg, who's the
Hmm.
king of one-liners. He's been doing comedy for like 40 years. Hard
Hmm.
to believe because he's so young, but he
He's only
it,
43, so
right?
yeah, yeah,
Weird. How does that work? But
yeah.
his open mic, they do a lot of peer-to-peer feedback, so people can get in discussions about their jokes and things like that, which is really cool. Michelle Durante runs a really fun and supportive mic on Tuesday nights called Pink Flamingo Comedy, and that's always really cool. And then there's other people who do a variety that maybe only happen monthly and everything
Hmm.
like that. And then I have one on Mondays, which is casual comedy. There's a variety of things, but
Hmm.
yeah, I'm excited to see what people are doing.
That's interesting. Now, I have to say it from the beginning of our interview here. There's got to be some kind of 30s Jack Benny channel or something. You got to get somebody to be up there and
Yeah.
playing a violin and going, being a cheapskate, because that was Jack Benny was notorious for a
Yeah.
cheapskate. Bring the Hudson around, stuff like that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of 30s comedy, but something like that, just for your heritage, right?
Yeah.
So now, would you say that a lot of the people on there are people that you knew through this journey, or are these all people that you've met since then?
It's a mix. There are a number of people that I've known, like, from when I was in New York.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that I've never met in person, that I've only met through Plausible, which is actually super cool. And there's
Yeah.
people from a variety of countries, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is amazing.
So then you've got the German comic, my dog has no nose, and then you say,
What?
I say my dog has. Well, I would say it in
Oh,
German. I don't have it in front of me. I can't remember what the German words are. My dog has no nose, and you say
how does he smell?
terrible. That's from Monty Python. That was they did
Oh,
it.
that's
They did
funny.
it. The German World War II German joke was that joke. But I wish I had the German. I could have said it in German. I did it once in German. But I couldn't remember the German words. But anyway,
That's
so
funny.
let me ask you a question. Do you have any cartoons so far?
No,
Oh,
not yet,
oh my goodness!
but I see
This
that as a
That
possibility.
could be the start of something right here. Look at this.
I love it. Yes.
I didn't know if you even noticed. So
I
there you go.
did. I didn't say anything. Isn't that funny?
You'd be surprised how few people say something.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Ah, I love it. I think it's amazing.
So, but no, this is great. I love this idea. I think it's fascinating and fun, and it really. I think you've hit upon something that is, it can only happen in the 21st century, right? So
Yeah,
this would have never ever happened before, right? This probably wouldn't even been a thought of anybody because
right.
of the way that the world has gone. And here you are doing it, plausible.com. And and I guess people should just join, right? You want them to join as
Yeah.
fans. If you want to learn something, join as a comedian, I suppose,
Yeah. I
and do
mean,
your bit, right?
absolutely. Even if you're a fan, you can get a spot on an open mic and everything. But if you want to produce and host your own shows, yeah, sign up as a comedian. If you're a comedian, sign up as a comedian.
But some people don't even know, right? Maybe they don't. Maybe they're just a kid from Waukegan who's got funny parents, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah. So you can't go wrong either way. Whatever you choose, we can have fun. So all it takes is to just sign up and get started either way. And hopefully you'll find something that I think you'll find a lot of things that you'll like on there, you
Yeah,
know?
this is fantastic. So,
Thanks.
Leanne, you want to tell us, like, what's the future, right? This will be we'll round everything up here. What's the future of what you're going to do? What's next in your life? Not necessarily just plausible, but for what you're doing. You've done so much so far. You've gone all over the country, back and forth.
I know. Well, and now I'm not even in California anymore. I'm in Seattle. So
Oh my
I moved
gosh.
again. I moved again. Um,
That's why the umbrella joke. Ah, yeah,
exactly, right?
gotcha.
Look at that. We
Yeah,
brought it all the way back
all the
around.
way back around. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what's the future holding for you?
Well, right now the future for me is all very plausible. So, ah,
I, we
it's
should do a freeze frame. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I didn't freeze. I was mid laugh. Um, yeah, this is really where my future is right at the moment is all things plausible because although I've launched and I have people on here, I still feel like I'm at a very early stage, and this is just the very beginning. And there's a lot of other things I have planned for plausible as we grow and build our community. I'm very excited about the future of it all, and I'm also what I love seeing and more to be revealed, but like what comedians are doing on plausible, how are they using it, what how creative can they be, and what are they coming up with. And so I don't know, there's just something about that that really excites me. So over the next several years, this is my plan, right?
Oh, it sounds fantastic. And then you'll morph into the next thing, and then you're going to move down to South America. That's what I see.
Yeah,
You
pretty
haven't been
much.
down there yet. You've just been crisscrossing the U.S. So,
Yeah,
the girl
yeah,
from
that sounds so
Waukegan.
good.
Was that the
Yep.
name of your one woman show, The Girl from Waukegan?
No. Should have been.
Okay.
My mother would have been much happier.
Well, Leanne, thank you very much for talking to me tonight. And everybody go check out Plausible. Be a super fan and get blocked. It'll be fantastic. I mean, nothing better to do with your life than to be such a fan that even the people you admire don't want to hear from you anymore. But thank you, Leanne. This is fantastic. I wish you all the best of luck. And
Thank you.
go to Plausible and see Leanne. She's on Mondays.